Welcome.
Hi. I'm Michael. I'm the president of LiftPort Group. We're going to talk really, really fast. I would rather have questions than go through my slides. So we're going to go through this quick. How many of y'all think this is your impression of a space elevator? Ever hear of the space elevator? Okay? All right. So believe it or not, I was on the original NASA team to investigate whether a space elevator could happen or not. And here's a science fiction version. You have a ball and a string, spinning it over your head, string in the middle stays straight, right? Expand that to an Earth-sized system. The Earth rotates. You have a counterweight, a satellite deep out in space with an extraordinarily long, strong string. The mechanics stay the same. You've built yourself a ladder to climb back and forth to space. Sounds easy, right? So we really surprised NASA and said, hey, this is, on a physics level, this really kind of works. So fast forward 18 years, we're a startup. But we're not focused on the Earth elevator because the technology for the Earth elevator isn't there yet. We are focused on the moon. And that's because the technology exists, all the materials exist, the robotics, the communications, all that stuff exists for the moon. The world has fundamentally changed in some really significant ways because there are commercial developments in space that didn't exist 15, 18, 20 years ago when I started all this stuff. A lot of people think, believe it or not, a lot of people think this is CGI. Nope, this is the world that we're living. We have reusable rockets. When I started this thing, the idea of reusable rocketry was even more science fiction than a space elevator. Think about that for a second. We only had 350 satellites in orbit at the time. We're now approaching 1,500, and we have a projected goal and a target of about 15,000 in the not too distant future. So space has changed. The world has changed as a result of all this technology. So what's a lunar elevator? The math and the physics are a little bit different, but if you can imagine, there's a lot of distance between the moon and the Earth. Where that line flows in, that's the gravitational middle between the moon and the Earth. Does that make sense? The gravitational middle, not the physical middle, right? We're going to launch a rocket out there. We're going to drop a string down to the surface of the moon, pull that back through the gravitational middle towards Earth, obviously not touching. There's enough of a gravitational pull on the Earth side to keep the string straight. Once you have that, you can build a space station at that middle point, that midpoint, we call that the Lagrange point. You can build a space station there, and that, we think, becomes the infrastructure for exploring the rest of the solar system. That makes going to Mars basically energetically free. Going to the asteroids, energetically free. Going back to Earth, energetically free. So we think that this is probably the most valuable and important real estate in the whole solar system, and I'm happy to give you some math on that. What are we doing? So we're a small company. We just reincorporated last year. We were in business between 2004 and 2003 and 2007 before the economy crashed, and then we went from 14 people to 0. I'm like, I love you, you're fired. I love you, you're fired. I love you, you're fired. All those people gone in an afternoon. It was a really rough day. But we just restarted about a year ago, and there's a lot of stuff that's happening that is really, really encouraging. Thanks. Skipping that. The Air Force is particularly curious about this project. And I'm not putting their slide up here as they're endorsing us, because that's way too strong a conversation. But that they see the relevance of a project like this is really encouraging, and I'm on my way out to Colorado Springs in just a matter of weeks. So cross your fingers about that, because it's taken 3 years to get this meeting. What are we going to do if we have this thing? We're going to build a gas station around the moon. right, at that Lagrange point. And if we have that, then the rest of the solar system becomes available. So that's our target. I have a lot more I could talk about, but I'm out of time. And that's my contact information. Yes, please.
Is the Lagrange point a top reference?
It is not. Lagrange points are any gravitationally neutral spot between two bodies. So the Earth and the Moon have one, the Earth and the Sun have one, Mars and the Sun has one, all the planets have one. So those are pretty cool little exploitable assets in space, and you want to put assets there in those places because it's basically energetically free to get to other places. Yeah, and then you guys.
What if other countries or companies also want to build elevators? How space?
So I would love to have partnerships. The European Space Agency has a program called the Moon Village Association. I'm very involved with that stuff. My school is the International Space University. It's the closest thing to Starfleet Academy that actually exists. So I want those kinds of partnerships. So those are kind of ongoing conversations. We're not at the stage yet where we really can contribute. We're still a very small team. But this summer, later in the summer, I'm going from here to Reykjavik, Amsterdam, Prague, and Luxembourg as part of that trip to start bringing in partners. I promise these guys over here. Sorry, go ahead.
What resources and technology do you have that allows you to build an elevator on the Moon?
The string. The gravity of the Earth is 6 times harder than the gravity of the Moon, which means the string requirements are easier on the Moon. Yeah. Elon Musk's official position when hearing about the Earth elevator is you can't build a footbridge with carbon nanotubes. Don't talk to me about space elevators. On that though, I have had conversations with 4 billionaires I'm not going to name yet. Yeah, go ahead. I have. I have a technical advisory council that's very close to 50 people. I think we're at like 46 people. Masters, PhDs, 10, 15, 20 years, 50 years experience in an area. Several of them are from big Boeing, big ULA, really major companies. Large companies are not the first place to go. NASA was the first place to go to. The Air Force is the next place to go to. Those folks become resources, but they're not going to drive this thing. It's bad business for Boeing to take this project on as a main task yet. Yeah. So we have a long game and a short game. On the short version, we have about 40 or so patentable technologies already. We will be spinning those off as fast as we can to commercialize and generate revenue off of IP that we currently have. As we focus on the elevator, we'll generate new IP. So that's the short game, which is spin-offs and licensing. And then the long game is the actual elevator. And in order to do that, it's about $800 million and about 8 to 12 years. We have $5 billion projects in this city alone. So as long as you look at from an infrastructure perspective and go after infrastructure funding, it's pretty viable. Yeah, okay. I would love to chat with y'all after. I'll be up front. I've got cards. Love to chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.